That's all for now.
Thank you, Leon, for taking up the baton to doing this with me. Yes, I've been wanting to explore my journey and express my journey, but not for the idea of expressing my journey. That has never been my primary idea. The idea has come to me is that I've had a beautiful journey that unfolded when I started doing family constellations. And I've started to understand my life better. I've been able to, I think, going through a healing process with all the work that I've done with family constellations. And where I am now in exploring not just facilitating constellations, but also teaching and training the processes of the work, but with a deeper understanding of what is really driving this work, this phenomenon in this work that is so amazing. And I realized that in my own life, I have quite a few stories that are really topics that are so common in this work. And it is easier for me to talk about the topics as I have explored them for me rather than tell other people's stories, because there are so many of the topics that I have explored and that I have worked through and have come to a point where I say, I've really reached a good point in my life because of this work. And I understand the difficulties that other people have in understanding why we have the concepts that we have in this work. So I think I am in a beautiful space in my life where I can share these topics through my life, but also with the wisdom of family constellations or systemic work as it is. So thank you for joining me on this journey. I'm excited.
So wonderful. So where is a good place to dive into this pool? Do you think the best place is to think about how constellation work came into your life, or is there a better starting point?
Maybe that's not a bad starting point, because that is a good starting point. Because we all find we are in a point in our life where we find something that we stumble on, in my case by accident, that then becomes quite significant. So my accident happened when I came into what was supposed to be an inner child workshop, and the lady who was supposed to give the workshop wasn't there. And a gentleman took over the slot, and he started talking about family constellations. And this gentleman is John Payne, as he was known at the time, who is now known as Shavasti. So, and for me, it was, wow, he's talking about something that makes sense to me. For me, DNA and bloodline made sense. And that was one of the hooks. The other hook was, I, at that time, was finishing my degree in traumatology, and I had done a thesis on the sins of the fathers. And for me, it was not about the sins of the fathers. I explored, how does the trauma go forward from one generation to the other? So these two things then interlinked with the trauma that happens in one generation. How does it go forward to another generation? And then the DNA, which is, for me, it is physical, it is almost not negotiable, because we cannot exchange our blood to change who we are. And so that was, for me, the hook into this work. I'd done a lot of other work and a lot of other studies, but for me, this is what hooked me.
So just say a little bit more about your other studies. So the traumatology. Yes.
So yeah, the traumatology came into my life again by accident. I had written an angry letter to God because I was in a stage of my life where I was just really angry and furious with everywhere where I was finding myself. And I said, you know what, God, you know me inside and out. You got to now lead me to where I need to go next. I am a mother of 4 children, and they were growing up, and they were going to find their own lives. And I felt that I was still young enough to do something with purpose in my life. And some of the endeavors that I'd done weren't as attractive to me. I'm a financial planner. But for me, that door wasn't really opening up in the way that I felt I was giving enough. And then I found this advert to study traumatology, and I thought, sounds interesting. Long story short, the first day I came into the class, it was like, this is your right place. And that is how I started my studies, not as a youngster, but at that time in my life. It was also a time of great difficulty. My father at that time was diagnosed with cancer, and he subsequently passed from it. And so it wasn't an easy time in my life when I started new endeavors. But when I started studying, I never realized how traumatized I was. For me, trauma was such a natural part of my life that I never actually realized the impact it had made on me. And so when I was then going through the traumas that were happening for me at that time, only then did I realize the traumas I had experienced right through my life and how they were playing out at that time of my life.